What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the RC Dirt Oval podcast. Wow, it's been a long time. It's been most of the summer. I think we did an episode not long after Motorama, so that would have been early spring, right at the start of COVID. But we're back. It's been a crazy summer. I've made all of 2 races. Yeah, and with everything going on, COVID, and then it's just not been much racing nationally. Not been much new and exciting products for dirt oval. Drag racing is the hot new thing, which I'm glad to see. I'm just glad to see RC in general still thriving. Chili Bowl sold out again, record time, 500 plus entries. So still plenty of interest in dirt oval. It's just been weird, not much to talk about. Quite honestly, I enjoyed having a break, being forced on the sidelines for a while. I'd kind of realized that I had gotten maybe a little too deep and was on the verge of burnout, especially following Motorama. So taking some time off was definitely beneficial. But yeah, I'm back. Hopefully, I'm not going to make any promises of how regular episodes will be. I do know that they'll be coming, but they're going to be much more of when it's fun for me, when it suits for me, when it suits my family. We've just got so much going on. We officially have a toddler now. She was more of a baby last time we recorded, but full-on toddler, and she's into everything, so that makes it a challenge, and just life in general's just changing. My wife and I are planning a church, and so that's taking up a lot of time. I'm basically working 2 jobs now, but we're loving it. We're having fun, so that's all good. Tonight's guest has been on the show a couple times before, and I just wanted to add a personal story about it. As I took a break, part of me was like, well, I wonder, who of my RC friends I'll still hear from, right? That's always something that, I have in the back of my head anyway. And I got to say, I was pleasantly surprised. I've stayed in contact with most of my companies, and the amount of people that have like, oh, when's the next episode coming? And, hey, man, how's it going? You been able to do any racing or anything? That's been really awesome. But surprisingly, during this downtime, I've made some friendships. Or we were friends before, but now I would consider us truly friends with a lot of RC racers. And, they weren't racing, I weren't racing, but we found things to stay connected over. And, it's evolved way beyond RC. And, I know what their kids are into. They know what, my kids are into. And so it's a cool thing. It's good to see that, the friendships go well beyond RC. And so one of those people is Dustin Malicoat. He's going to be jumping on here in a little bit. And, honestly, I caught a ton of crap from people within the industry. Oh, you're in Dustin's pocket and this, that, and the other. And, the show is just becoming a commercial for GFRP and this, that, and the other. And, the truth is, it's just, I can honestly say we've become friends, and he's one of the people that I talk to quite often about RC, along with a bunch of others. And he and I share a lot of the same views on RC and how it can grow and what's hurting it and how to make it better. And I like his insight from a manufacturing standpoint. And, he's stood the test of time where other companies have kind of drifted off and faded away. He's still cranking out products and, diversifying his production portfolio, if you would, and making new things. So that's always cool and encouraging. And so, yeah, He's he definitely has a love-hate relationship with a lot of other people. But honestly, the more I've got to know him, I joke with him a lot. I'm like, man, you keep acting like a nice guy. People are going to actually learn that you really are a nice guy, and you're not this jerk that people think you are at the races. And so hopefully tonight's episode, interview, what have you, um, you know, hopefully you enjoy it. If you don't, you know what? Catch the next episode. Somebody else will be on, and maybe that's more your cup of tea. Um, but yeah, so without waiting any longer, let's get him on the line and see what's going on. So tonight we're joined with the one and only Team GFRP, 5-7 Designs, man, myth, legend, RC track jerk. I'm trying to think what other names he has associated with him, but I think that's good enough to start. What's up, Dustin Malicoat?
Not a whole lot. How are you?
Man, yeah, I'm good. I'm odd. I've not done this in so long. I'm not sure I remember how to do it. But we're just going to wing it and go full send, right?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Cool. So, it's probably been a year or more since you've been on here. And let's see, you've released a drag car. You've what else have you done? Oh, so you had a 2020 Prodigy, and then the 2020 GFRP cars, and the Aero drag car. Anything else I'm missing?
I don't think so. Guess I had the 2020 Assailant.
Yep.
With the GFRP line. No, I think that's probably about it. Yeah.
Okay. So
as soon as I get Urban Coat, we'll have a 2021 podium, I guess.
Oh.
5-7 Designs.
All right. Any big changes on that?
Carbon to get them. No, actually, it's a very small update. Really, we just changed some stuff on the chassis itself.
Okay.
Shorten the wheelbase up a little bit. Put a little bit more clearance in the left rear for people running insane amounts of toe in. I don't know, some other stuff. So not a ton of different stuff, but just a little bit.
All right, some tweaks. I'd take it. So explain to me the drag car.
As far as?
Well, number one, why did you get into drag cars? And number two, how are you enjoying that industry?
How I got into it. Basically, I just saw the market growing in it.
Yep.
And it just looked to me like it was similar to kind of like the short course market was at one point, where it was a lot of people spending a ton of money on a car and having to go through a bunch of different channels to build a car. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of felt like I could probably do the same thing with it that I did with the Prodigy, and just release a car that was just kind of a one-stop shop and be able to buy a full car kit and move on. So that's kind of how I got started in it. And then Greg Bridgewater from Oklahoma, mm-hmm. he owns a company called Undercover. I don't know if it's Undercover Wings, Undercover RC. I don't really know exactly what it is. I know he undercarver was kind of his thing. He has his bodies for the short course stuff and the um, Midwest mods, and then he does some drag car stuff. And he was pretty big into the drag car deal.
Yep.
So I talked to him about it. I was like, "Here's my idea. Do you think it'd work?" And he said, "Yes, it would." So that's kind of what we did. We just started from scratch and built a car.
Yeah, and I remember you brought it to the 2019 Chili Bowl and tested with it, which was fun. Greg was out there. It was good times.
It was actually the 2020 Chili Bowl, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Sorry.
Yeah, it was this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we took my wild idea, which was a completely rear hinged car with a shock as a torque arm and everything else, and quickly realized that I could very much overcomplicate the system really quick.
Right.
So we kind of did away with that design right away. But I think it was probably a good thing that I did that because it got the attention of a ton of people.
Yeah.
So then they were definitely interested in what we were doing after that. And it's odd because nobody really asked for that design after we came out with the original, like what we ended up having for the production version.
Right.
Nobody's really said anything about the other one. So kind of worked out. It was kind of like a shock and awe effect of people looking at it and saying, "Man, that's really cool. Who in the heck are these people?
Right.
And what are they doing?" And then we were able to provide a car, and yeah, we've been pretty successful with it as far as selling them. They've been very successful. I would say on the track, but I guess it's more like in the streets, kind of deal. So yeah, it's been good.
Are you going to revisit the original design and idea you had?
You know, I've thought about it, but with the amount of tire prep now that seems to be being used in the no prep world,
right.
And then just the tires that the companies are providing.
Yeah.
And I mean, now they're making the ultra wide tires and just like they have so much grip that I don't think the original design that I have is really needed. Like the original design was basically to make grip,
right?
Because everybody acted like you couldn't get them hooked up,
right?
And I mean, now I know guys that are running 3.5 motors in them.
Yeah, it's
so
ridiculous.
Like if you're straight up putting 3.5 motors in them, then you're not going to have you don't need to be making grip. You have grip,
right? You're hooking them in at that point.
Yeah, and it's like I got a guy that has one of our cars up in Michigan, and his goal is to make it run 80 mile an hour and 132 feet, and he's been over 75 mile an hour with it several times. He was the first guy that got into the 1 second range with I think a 1.89 is his quickest pass that he's ran with one so far. So I mean, it's unreal. Like especially for me because I just don't. I mean, I'm not a drag racer myself, so I'm relying on a lot of people to help me, guide me, and teach me basically with these things because not only am I not a drag racer myself, the time that I would have to actually spend drag racing myself, I don't really have anywhere good to go run it. And I mean, there's some people around me that do it, but not on the scale that they're doing it in, say, Oklahoma or Michigan or California or Arizona or North Carolina. There's it's just little pockets everywhere of them. And I think there's like a group around me, but they're running like completely different type of cars and not really even running no prep cars from my understanding. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I'm relying so much on other people to give me feedback and then just have to process it and going from there.
Okay, so we're gonna put a timestamp here, and we're gonna record this. And for all the people that have said that you're an arrogant know-it-all, that proves that wrong. You said you're having to listen to other people and take their advice. So that's point one for Dustin. 0 point for the haters. So moving on, I've noticed because I've been following it and been following some of the groups, and the drag racers are not without their drama, but it's been an entirely different vibe than the dirt oval. And what I mean by that is I haven't heard, oh, you're killing no prep drag racing, or you name things that have been said about the different things of dirt oval. Well, okay, when you came out with a second chassis for the drag car, different thickness, and
Hmm.
there wasn't like, oh my gosh, my car's junk now. It was honestly like, oh boom, it's sold out. Oh crap, okay. Like people were just like, yeah, it's a tuning option. Cool, let's get it. Um, so from an outsider looking in, that's what I've seen. What's been your take on the drag racing scene?
It's it's a completely different world. So yes, they have drama, but I think most of their drama is that I've seen is more like people talking trash about one another is
Yes.
creating the drama there.
Yeah.
Or they're saying that, oh well, you're racing on this surface and you're racing on that surface and you have this timing system and that timing system's junk and
Mm-hmm.
this is the
Mm-hmm.
only one you can go off of. So it's like it's all that. It's
Right.
it's more of a pissing contest than anything, from what I can tell.
Yeah,
And it's
they're
like,
they're trying to make it like
you,
Tommy Burgess's favorite show, the Street Outlaw thing, where it's all
you,
about who's faster and this, that, and the other, which is cool,
yeah,
right? Like that's why they're doing
yeah,
it.
yeah. That's the appeal, I think, for a lot of people.
Yep.
But as far as like option parts and improving a platform, like man, the dirt oval crowd would be like headhunting me if I released a car and then 2 months later was like, hey, here is a whole new chassis combo and a new whatever to go with it. So like with the drag car, we came out with this car, tons of people get it, and say 50% of them are like, man, this is the most awesome thing I've ever had. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other 50% are saying, man, this thing is junk. What did I buy? And how can I fix it? Here's my suggestions on how to fix it.
Right.
And then, so I take those suggestions and I say, all right, here you guys go. Here's a thicker chassis plate so it doesn't twist. Here's thicker side rails so it doesn't twist. Here's a
Mm-hmm.
longer wheelie bar so it's more controlled. Here's different options of thicknesses for all of these.
Right.
And and they're all like, sweet, can I buy it? Like, I want to buy it now. Like, take my money type of situation.
Right.
And even today, like like this week we've sold cars that are just bone stock, 2.5 mil cars that are just normal, and then we've also sold cars that are 4 millimeter thick with the thick chassis, the thick side rails, the long wheelie bar, the thicker rear shock tower, things that some people say are must haves, and then other people are saying you're wasting your money.
Right.
So it's just such a wide variety of what works. And I think the difference in like the no prep deal versus like dirt oval specifically is in the no prep deal, there's so many different places that are racing
Mm-hmm.
that nobody knows anybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the big shots in no prep racing, like there's tons of them because they have big events, but it's so new that there's nobody's really established themselves in my eyes as the guy that's going to go win the national event or the big event all the time.
Yeah.
So they don't have
There's no
they don't
Nathan Dean
have
yet.
there's no Nathan Dean, there's no Max Fleur, there's no Mark Corns, there's no, Arnie Fye, all these guys that we have from the dirt oval world,
Right.
that are just going to go in and, going there, those guys are going to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have those people looking at it and going, well, I want what he has. And, in the dirt oval world, a lot of guys, they can't get what those guys have in their minds because they feel like, oh, well, those guys are getting special stuff, which at times is true, but
Sure.
for the most part, that's not true.
Right.
It's, so from that standpoint, like they're not basing their car's performance based off of matching parts or a setup from this Greek god of no prep.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that that's like the biggest difference with that side of it, and why we don't necessarily see the pushback. Now, we've gotten some people that are like, dude, I just bought this car, and then 2 days later you release this upgrade for me that I'm going to have to buy separate, and, like we take those case by case, and we've helped out some people. Like, yeah, I realize you just bought this thing. We didn't know when we were going to get the website updated.
Right.
So it's really, you're always going to have that situation of, well, I just bought this, and 2 days later this was released or this was announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it is what it is. It's going to happen in every aspect of everything. So we try to help out those guys as much as we possibly can because I've been on that side of it as well.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, the drag tire guys are way more drama free whenever it comes to updating things and the haves and the have nots. Like I just don't hear it from them like we do the dirt oval guys.
And it's ironic to me, right? Because when I first got into dirt oval when I was a kid, everything was homemade or modified. Very rarely did you see like a complete sprint car that somebody bought from a company. And it was all, everybody's stuff was different. It was all about learning and trying different things and seeing what worked and what didn't. And that was like what was expected. It was what was cool. It's what was, for a lot of people appealing. Now it's you buy a kit and the kit is the kit and you run it. But if somebody comes along and they're trying their own thing, especially if it's a company and the person doesn't have access to it, they get really bent, but they don't understand that, those guys are out trying that stuff to make sure it works before they sell it because they know daggone well if they sell it and it's not working, then the people are going to cry about it not working. So they've really created this system of it having to be tested before it's sold, and they don't like it. And they need
and I mean if anybody wants any further proof, look at my results from the showdown. So this year, the showdown foam tire race at Go Fast Raceway in Attica, Indiana, that Mark Corns puts on.
Yep.
It's one of the better foam tire events that we have. I won it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, ironically, a car pretty much identical to how I had mine set up last year, won it this year. I was on something completely new that looks completely different. That had a whole lot of people like looking at it going, oh, what are you doing there? Like, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, how really cool was it? I think I qualified like 16th or 17th or something like that.
Right.
Granted, I haven't raced really since March, and my tire situation wasn't that great, but honestly, the car really wasn't that great either. So, it's people don't understand that. Yeah, for all the successful cars that we have, we probably have 5 to 10 prior to that are not, or just ideas that just flat don't work.
Right.
it's like the car that I have. There's things that it does that I really like, and there's things about it that I really dislike. Um, I've only had it on one track though, so now I need to go race it at a couple other places and see what it's going to do, and see if it's a track thing, is it a car thing, or is it just a me figuring out how to drive 2.9 second laps again thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the thing I've learned as well is that um, for a company that's selling a product, you also have to have a product that is usable by most people.
Yes,
Oh
big
gosh.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we had that scenario. I forget which GFRP car it was. I don't even remember at this point. But we had a car, and it was like really, really good
right.
in certain people's hands. But the tuning window on that car was so narrow that it just like I basically we came out with another version of it within a year, if I remember right. It was I want to say it was our GFRP, the Havoc 2.0 car.
Okay.
Um, like it was really good, like I said, in certain people's hands. Um, but it was man, it was a sheer cliff. If you weren't on, it was way off. So
Yeah.
so I think that car. I mean, it was like 8 to 12 months, and we released a 2.1 version of it just because people can't they literally just couldn't use it.
Right. Right. And I
The
know
masses couldn't use it.
exactly. I know at the 2020 Chili Bowl, I talked to some people that had some unique cars, and they had some special things on them for adjustment and everything else that in a normal average driver's hands would just mess them up more than it would help them. And you know, that's what it is. I mean, that's one of those things that I know it was homemade, and if people want it, then get out the Dremel and do their own version of it. But don't get mad because somebody won't sell it to them. There's reasons. Trust me. There's nobody I know that has a business that doesn't want to sell a product. So if they're not selling it, there's a reason.
Yes, yes,
All right.
100%.
Um, let's see how to start this next part. So,
Uh-oh.
yeah, COVID hit, coronavirus, and I
Yep.
know a bunch of us were, quarantined or isolated or whatever, flatten the curve, whatever the word was, and we were all kind of stuck at home. Restaurants weren't open, and wasn't much to do. So I picked up an old hobby that I used to be into, and that's computer gaming, and started playing Call of Duty Warzone. And somehow found out you were playing it and a bunch of other RC racers. So we all started playing it together over the summer. Um, and I tell you, it opened my eyes to a statement that I've heard thrown 100 times from RC racers. And that is, well, the general statement is we need to get kids off video games and get them out here racing. And here's what I come to learn. I can, if I want to race for one car, I have 2 to 4 hours prep on that car, tires, everything else before I show up to the track. And then for a normal club night, I'm going to occupy minimum 4 hours, normally closer to 6, and get, let's be generous and say for one car, I'm going to get 20 to 25 minutes track time. Now, the alternative of that is I can walk into my office, turn my computer on, jump in a video game, play with hundreds of other people, just as competitive, just as fun and exciting. I can play as long as I want, turn the computer off, walk away, and I know that the next time I want to do this activity, all I have to do is walk back in and turn it on. And I know, Dustin, through conversations that you have a similar thing, because you just recently did a big race where you had a lot of time invested in it. So, here's the ultimate question: are people like us that are looking at RC racing as too long of a time investment for the return of actual racing, or is there a problem with RC racing, specifically dirt oval for this conversation, as we know it? What do you think?
I would say there's definitely a problem with the formula of RC racing in general. Let alone, if we're just going to talk about dirt oval, for sure. It's the amount of time you have to spend just a lot. Not even count like prepping the car, fixing it, working on it. Not even including the stuff that you got to do at the home,
Mm-hmm.
but just your RC racing day. For most tracks, to me, is simply too long. I have challenged a few different track owners in the past couple of years to try to make it. Now, you have your diehard guys and your guys that they want to go spend that much time at a track. So there's
Right.
guys that like that. To them, they want to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning and get home at midnight.
Yep.
That's fun for them.
Yep.
And that's great. That's great for them. But believe me, I love the fact that we have those. I used to be one of those. I have kids now that are active in sports. I coach.
Mm-hmm.
I have a wife. I have house projects. I have all this other stuff. So for me to just devote that much time into it, for me to personally just go race anymore, it's hard to do. And I know a lot of other people are that way, especially with kids who are active in anything. It doesn't matter what they're active in. If you're active in, you could be active in cheer and Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. You could be active in sports of any kind, music, anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we consume ourselves with that. So therefore our time is very valuable. And I know from like my kids' standpoint, they used to like going to the RC track, but I've asked them recently, "Hey, you want to go?" And they're like, "We're gonna be all there all day." Well, yeah, and they're like, "No thanks," because they would rather, be on their phone or be on the Xbox or hang out with their friends or do their sport or whatever they're doing. So, like, I've challenged tracks to come up with a race day that's 1-2 classes. You're in and out of there in like 2 hours time.
Mm-hmm.
Treat it like, okay, we don't have, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, you have soccer practice from 6 to 7:30.
Right.
Well, on Tuesday night, we're going to go RC race from 6 to 8. Yep. Okay, like that's a reasonable thing that somebody can do. And a lot of people will look at it from the RC industry and go, well, there's no way you could fit a show in 2 hours. Yeah, you can.
Yep.
You can fit, not only can you fit a show in, you can fit a good show with a ton of laps if you do it right.
Oh, for sure.
Now, where people have to realize is not everybody's going to have a class that they can win. And you might be in the B main, and you might even be in the C main on a weekly, because the only way to make it happen is very limited and a short program.
Yep.
I mean, to me, that's the direction we need to try to figure out how to get to. Now, whenever you're talking big national events, I get it. Those are going to be big, long, drawn out shows.
Sure.
Do they have to be? I don't know. Maybe you can come up with a way that they're not, but that's a deal. I'm more interested in trying to fix, like, not even fix, but just help out local racing so I can justify it to my 14-year-old daughter, who actually does genuinely like racing RC cars. She said that she wished we were talking about it 2 weeks ago. She's like, yeah, I wish I had time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she just hit the nail on the head. She realizes she doesn't have the time to do it because she is very active in sports. She was a freshman. She was on the varsity soccer team. 2 weeks after varsity season's over, now she's doing club soccer right now, 3 days a week because she's got college showcases coming up.
Right.
So 3 days a week of that, plus your homework and everything else, she would pretty much just rather sit on her butt and do absolutely nothing for 12 hours versus going to an RC track for 6 of that 12.
Oh, sure.
So, and I don't blame her. I would too.
Hey, look, man.
So I think that's where we are.
My 13-year-old used to race, used to love it, but he's given it up now for doing airsoft because when he goes to an airsoft event, they're usually 4 hours. They play 30 minutes, take a 10-minute break, go right back, play another 30. So his 4 hours that he's there, it's legitimately doing what he went to do. And we had our end of the year race here, and I was looking around at the average age of the attendees, and I would say the average age was probably pushing 50. And I just don't know if when, people our age or older, and that's generally what makes up a lot of the RC racers, when they start to get to the place where they can't go racing, I don't know who's going to be there to carry it on. And that's just the truth with the options that are available today. Like a year ago, the guys that were like, "Oh, I'm going to do iRacing," I really didn't get it. I totally get it now. I 100% get it, and I refuse. I've got a computer that'll run it. I refuse to buy the wheel and the pedals and all that because I know if I started, I'd probably never go back to an RC track. For that simple reason of being able to walk up, turn it on, do it, shut it down, and go right back to life as normal. So I've challenged my local track of like, hey, let's try a off night. Let's just run sprint cars. You get one practice, one heat, run the mains, no bump ups. We keep points, and then at the end of the year, we do a big race, and the qualifying is staged by your points. And so he said he's interested, so we'll see. Hopefully COVID is done and forgot about by then. We can have a normal season next year and see what we can come up with. But yeah, when we have a hobby that we're wanting, and I genuinely know that most people want to see this hobby carry on, more than 5 to 10 years down the road. But when the average age is, pushing 50, I don't know if it will. So something has to change. It's going to take some people with some brass tacks, if you would, to try some radical things and see if it sticks. And to circle back to our first topic, I think that's part of the appeal of the no prep drag racing. I know guys that say they go out and don't even take a charger with them. They go out, do their hits, there for 2 hours, go home, and it's a done deal. And I'm like, man, that's appealing.
Yeah. No, it is, and I agree. I was sitting there as you were talking about that. I was thinking back whenever I started racing RC cars, which was in '99 with carpet oval stuff, and there were a lot of people doing it that were in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say like there was a few that were doing it that were still like in their teens or younger or whatever. There are a lot of kids in their 20s. I mean, I can, off the top of my head, could probably name 10, 15 guys that raced at Hobbytown that were in their 20s, that were, college age or just out of college or high school age, kind of later teens,
Mhm.
early to mid 20s, doing it. Man, like I look at the tracks now, a lot of them that I go to, and that's a demographic that we don't have a ton of. I would say that demographic has pushed up about 10 years.
Mhm.
So now, now you have people that were introduced into it. Maybe they were the guys that were really young at that age, in the early 2000s, that now are in their 30s and they're coming back to it. But yeah, I don't know, that the age is definitely getting older. It's an older group now than what I feel like it was whenever I got into it.
Right.
And a lot of that I think is because there's so many more options today that are easy. I mean,
Oh gosh,
it's
yeah.
an easy option. I mean, like you said, sitting down playing some games of Call of Duty or playing, iRacing. I used to be into iRacing. I used to do it a lot.
Mhm.
Whenever iRacing first came out, I was a beta tester for iRacing.
Right.
So, I was there in the very beginning of it. We were racing R Factor with dirt late models and dirt sprint cars with leagues and stuff like that back then.
Right.
And I look at, so even within iRacing and like Call of Duty, like I look at those as one is a complete time drain and then the other I can do casually. Like I know what it takes to be good and to enjoy iRacing. And I
Mhm.
know that I don't have the time to dedicate to that
Right. Right.
because it's like you sit down and you're going to sit down there and you're going to sit down there for a while to practice and then to get your setup and then to race. So it's a big time drain in comparison. And I play Call of Duty several hours. I mean, it's like I'll sit down hours. But within Call of Duty, like I can play a game whenever I get home from work
Yeah.
and play one or two games.
Right.
Well, we played 2 games earlier today.
Yep.
And then before we're doing this podcast, I went to the school. I did my workout with the high school, just at the high school, got my workout in for the day, let my daughters do their workout, brought them home, ate dinner. I played a game of Call of Duty, and then you sent me a text and was like, hey, you want to do this? Cool. So here I am doing this.
Right.
Whenever
Right.
we get done with this, I'll probably play a game and then go to bed.
Right.
So it's like, I can play 4 or 5 games in a night that's spread out over several hours, but it's at my own will. I can just sit down and play and then get up and walk away. If I die, I press the click the desktop button and I'm done.
Yep.
That it is there the next day whenever I want to go back to it.
Yeah.
Versus iRacing, like you're sitting down and you're grinding.
Right.
So
And I think it's goals too, though, because I have a lot of friends that casually play iRacing
yep.
that don't grind it, and I think maybe your experience in the beginning of it tainted you a little bit to want to be competitive and have to feel that grind. Because I mean,
It,
look, there's guys that race RC that are casual RC guys. They show up, race, throw their stuff in the back of their car, and don't touch it till they come back the next time. And that's not how you're wired when you go to an RC race. So, but the age thing, right? I don't think we're seeing the 20-year-olds and the young 30s because those are typically the age group with younger kids. And it's really challenging. I can testify to that with a 2-year-old at home. How challenging it is to be able to go racing for that long of a time period. And the people I saw again at the big race was people that enjoy being out of the house, for 8, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. I mean, heck, Phil Marabella is sitting back in his enclosed trailer watching World of Outlaw sprints on a big screen TV. I mean, he brought his house with him, So I mean, that's what he enjoys, and so there's got to be a balance. You got to have something for those guys that do enjoy being out, but then if we want growth and sustained growth, there's got to be an option to have a short event. So hopefully some people can try it. Try some things. Hopefully it'll stick. And yeah, Dustin, your audio is fine. So just keep talking. Okay. So
yeah, I would agree, and you actually kind of hit on something that I've often said within RC racing is, you said like iRacing doesn't have to be a grind. RC racing doesn't have to be a grind either. And it's funny because it's being the lack of terms of sounding arrogant here. Being a top level racer, I feel like I'm a top level racer. I've put my time in to get there. But being that, like, I'm genuinely envious of the guy who goes and wins a club show and is like super pumped that he won a club show.
Right.
Because I remember whenever I was there, like, RC racing was so much more fun when that were the case.
Oh yeah.
Me being me and me being wired the way I am and as competitive as I am, like, I can finish second at the Chili Bowl and Outlaw Sprint, and I'm genuinely disappointed. Like, it's not good enough for me.
Right.
And there's people that are going to listen to that and be like, this guy's an idiot. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's, but that's where I say, like, I'm envious of that person, that it's truly a hobby to them to just race and have fun and, like, pull off a win at a club show. To them is really cool. Like, I'm jealous because I don't know. They're a club show for me. It's just not that anymore. And that sucks. And that's probably one of the reasons why I don't club race as much, is because I don't get that high, so to speak, of winning a club show.
Sure.
And when I go club race, half the time when I'm club racing against national talent. Like,
right.
I'm going and racing against some of the best guys in the nation at a club show. So, like, I'm beating the best if I'm winning that. And it's just, but for me and with the business and everything else, it's still a grind, because it's not like I'm just going and racing to have fun. I'm going to test this part or test that part or do this or do that. So, yeah, having a place for the casual RC racer, it's important. It's very important, and I think that's one thing, back to figuring out how to get a quicker show in, will gain that type of racer.
Absolutely.
More so than some of the other ideas that people have had.
Yep. All right. So I don't want to keep you away from your gaming all night. Or my gaming, for that matter. Which, by the way, let me just put a plug out there. I made a post on the Facebook page, and Dustin made a post on his racing page. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. The Dustin Malicoat page, not his personal account. Looking for players, because we're going to try to have some league play or private matches, but we need a lot of people, and we might even have some tournaments. So if you're an RC racer and you enjoy that thing, make sure you add me or him, and we'll try to get some of those games going. So that should be fun. But what's in the pipeline for 5.7 and GFRP and all those good things? What's on the horizon?
Oh man, we're working on tons of stuff. So Uh, GFRP wise, rubber tire cars, we came out with new ones basically at the end of last year.
Yep.
They're 2020 cars. So we're pretty well set on those as far as the rubber tire side of it right now. Foam tire side of it, the two platforms that we have are both really good right now. I would say the platform that we're really not that great in right now is the Mod Sprint. We did a conversion for a car similar to like what I ran last year at the Showdown and what several of the guys are running this year at the Showdown. We did a conversion deal with that, and I think we've kind of tested it long enough that a lot of guys are very happy with it. So that's probably something that I need to go ahead and get truly released from the GFRP platform. One thing that I'm kind of in limbo on with that is I'd really like to get a new transmission case machine so we can have the updated transmission parts with it.
Okay.
Just to kind of give that an upbringing, so to speak,
Right.
get into this century whenever it comes to diff parts.
Yeah.
So that's something from the GFRP standpoint that I'm working on is trying to go ahead and get another mod sprint released. The direct drive sprint, there's a few guys that are trying some different stuff with them, but for the most part, pretty much running the same stuff we've had. It's nothing real super new in the works there. Late model stuff, I know that Barry's been selling. I don't even know what he calls it. It's basically it's like our 2019 car. It's like a South version, so to speak.
Okay.
Kind of like how Jack and all those guys down there run their car. So the guys are kind of able to buy a car more similar to what they run down there and have
Gotcha.
the parts already on it that they run down there.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are with the GFRP stuff. The 5.7 stuff, new podium getting ready to come out. Again, it's a chassis upgrade. I mean, all the shock towers, everything else is all the same. So not anything revolutionary there.
Right.
Sprint car wise, we're working on a whole new platform and been working on that for a while. And I'm just now finally getting a few of those actually built to where hopefully a few other guys can start running them.
There you go.
Brad Shearer and CJ Greaves up in Wisconsin have been kind of helping me out quite a bit with that car, mainly CJ as far as communications with me, but I know CJ and Brad have been working close together on that. Dre Meyer is building one of those cars right now to give it a go. Chad Jones has ran it a few times. I personally have not even got to run one yet, so I'm building one myself. Hopefully I can get it out and get to running it sometime soon. So when you start getting going with it, I'm honestly guessing that car is not going to be a released car until like maybe this time next year,
Okay.
if things go well.
Right.
So I mean, it's a ways out. Yeah, doing that stuff. By the time you get a design that you actually like, it takes a long time from that point just to get everything together, especially whenever we're doing a full car kit like we're going to do for it. So it's not going to be a conversion deal. It's just going to be you buy it and it's everything here. So
there you go.
Kind of working on that. The Prodigy stuff is, obviously we're on a 2020 Prodigy, so nothing major works there. A lot of people are trying all kinds of different stuff. It's good, bad, a headache for me at times. I got guys that love it. I got guys that hate it. I got guys that are somewhere in between. They love it one day, they hate it the next day.
Right.
So it's but that's typical with all cars, and
Sure.
especially with my team guys, because they're just my team guys, and they are what they are at times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that it's just getting everybody happy and kind of getting everybody on the same page, and with COVID and like COVID kind of killed the beginning of the time whenever I'd actually have time to go race. And then by the time it had kind of settled down, I was full on soccer coaching mode.
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
didn't have any of that time to where I could go personally test stuff. And, it's, I'm pretty picky whenever it comes to a lot of stuff. I love hearing ideas from guys that I trust and everything else, and then just try to muddle my way through all of that, and then build something, let them test it, and then me go test it as well.
Sure.
Um, it's just a long process, and yeah. So unfortunately, nothing happens too quick. But that's
Yeah,
also why I do feel like when we release something, people have a lot of faith in the fact that it has been tested and it is going to be quality.
and I don't think there's. I mean, to me, it's small refining. It's not like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, really 20 for that matter, um, where there was so much just constant evolving and changing. Um, Now it's just trying to fine tune minor things and improve on minor things. I could be totally wrong. I don't think there's going to be something that comes out. It's just like so revolutionary. It's like, oh my gosh, this is such a game changer. But maybe it will.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say game changer because honestly, like whenever I look back to like the last 10 years in dirt oval RC racing, the game changer arms, the adjustable
Yes. Yeah.
rear toe arms that customers came out with, and it's actually kind of funny because in the promotion video I think that's where the game changer thing is. They said it was going to be a game changer, and I just remember so many people like just laughing at it, like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, like this, whatever, game changer. Come on, quit being full of yourselves. And it's like, no, 100%. Like that was a game changer. It's big time. Like Arnie Fye, that dude needs a lot of credit right there. He came out with something that was really, really well thought out. It was well designed. It's still the best design. I mean, they patented it for a reason.
Yeah.
He wasn't the first one to have adjustable rear arms.
Right.
I mean, there were other companies that had them at that time. But and the method that they did it and how they did it, and just the fact that they molded it and made it available for everybody,
Right.
it was a game changer because I can tell you right now it's one of the things that I wish we could get rid of though,
Oh,
and not
come
necessarily
on.
just their arms. Is just the toe itself is created a headache in a lot of ways as far as just making the cars drivable for other people, for average racers. So,
13 in and 8 out is
but
just awesome, right? You're not racing if you're not running that.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I I remember it had to have been like 2010 ish,
Yeah.
2009, 2010, something like
Yeah.
that. One of my buddies from New York, we were racing EDMs, and at that time, everything up to that point, it was straight up zero toe. That's all we ever ran. And
Right.
I remember I made a toe block that was a 1 degree toe block,
Right.
1 degree toe block, and we were putting those on the left rear only. And he said, "Man, if you got to add toe to your car's just not working.
Yeah.
Like you need to fix your car." And it's like, and he doesn't race anymore, and he had kind of messed with it a few years ago, and he said something to me about toe. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty nuts, isn't it? And he's like, dude, I never in my life would have dreamt that we'd be running the toe that we run now. And I'm like,
Right.
and that was a few years ago. Now, if he knew what the heck we run, he'd be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's insane. But it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you're right. That's probably, I think if there was a dirt oval museum, the customer game changer arm would definitely be one of the greatest innovations in dirt oval. It would have to be in there. Nah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
innovation. We'll say that. Like again, I know there was other arms before it, but just the way that they put it all together. Hey,
yep.
Steve Jobs didn't invent the smartphone, but that dude took it and made it accessible to everybody. So
Yep, 100%.
All right. Well, look, man. I got to get kids in bed, and then I got to get some video games in tonight. So, Dustin, I appreciate you coming on, man. Anybody you need to thank? Oh, whoa, stop! No. One last thing. Yeah,
Back up.
one
What we
last
doing?
thing. What has to happen to get Chad Jones on this show?
To get Chad Jones on the show?
Yes, because I've literally been trying for 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're just gonna have to I think people need to post in on the RC Dirt Oval Facebook page and tag Chad in every single post that you guys want him on there, because his constant response is nobody wants to hear from me.
Yeah.
So every time I get a chance, I make a plug in there and kind of harass him about it. And I know last year, I think it was last year at the Chili Bowl, might have been the year before. No, it was last year because you weren't there, and it was at the time whenever they were sending you that everybody was signing the shirt.
Oh yeah.
Or was that 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago. 19.
I don't know. 2 years ago, yeah. He was making some smart aleck comments, so I had to go to Facebook Live immediately and interview him. So yeah, it was pretty funny just because yeah, I don't know. Chad's Chad. He's a humble person in that regard, as far as he just doesn't think that anybody would care to listen to his story, so to speak. But
yeah, but he's got such a wealth of knowledge.
I think he's got a lot more. I think he's got a lot more respect from other people than what he thinks.
Oh, dude, there's no doubt. And if worse comes to worse, because I doubt Motorama is going to happen this year, but 2022 Motorama, I'm going to secretly record a conversation with him, if nothing else. So, Chad, you've been served notice. Would you rather knowingly be recorded, or would you rather secretly be recorded? So it's your choice. Let's get it done. All right, man. Well,
sounds like a deal.
Yeah, it was good. It's good to be back doing it. And Dustin will get you back on again. And until next time, guys, that's a wrap.